It's chunking. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to an episode of Dirtnation Offroad. So today what we're doing is working on our 3/4 swapped 88 pickup winchers. Now, this truck on a previous video, we did the infamous 3.4 swap and we got the motor running, tranny shifting, everything's working with that. Then we took it up to Cleghorn and it did okay. I mean, honestly, if in retrospect, it did pretty bad, but because I know how to drive a Cleghorn, I know how to take lines, I think it did pretty okay. Definitely some good things about it, but there's a lot of things to work on. First and foremost is flex. This truck has zero flex. As soon as you go on any obstacle, all the tires are off the floor. I don't know how all of them are off the floor, but that's what happens. So there's going to be a series of videos that we'll be working on to make this truck less crappy. First off, we're going to be starting with the rear end. We're gonna be working on leaf springs. Gonna lift it up a little bit and we'll show you the parts that we're gonna be working with today. Check out our add leaf kit. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Comes with center bolts. We're gonna have some things to figure out. Looks like it comes with some kind of shim padding that'll go on there. But I mean, there's the leaf. There it is. It's pretty straightforward. For our bushings, there they are right there. So polyurethane bushings. So this is the big set. Comes with the metal sleeve that you need, and then it has a bunch of the little ones that replace on the shackles. All right, gonna get started here with taking off the U-bolts. Underneath it's gonna be 4/19s, and then we have to take off the shock, which is a 17 and a 17 on the top. Oh yeah, that comes off kind of. That's the thing about trucks that are 32 years old. Some of this shit's not gonna come off. All right, they do come off. There comes the axle. Boom goes the dynamite. Take the plate off. There it is. Easy. Yeah, right. Okay, we're gonna get the other side cracked. Actually gonna take this off too so we can lower the axle a little bit. What I'm noticing is we might run into a problem with our U-bolts because they're already pretty short, and if we're gonna lift it, we're probably gonna need bigger ones. So I'm gonna go to the auto parts store right now, make sure I can get those, as well as knock over my GoPro. I'm also going to look into extended brake lines because that rear brake line is going to have to get bigger. Luckily, it's only a single brake line. I might be able to take care of that. I might already have that in stock. All right, let's go to the auto parts store, see if we can find what we need. All right, back from the parts store, and we picked up a few things. First of all, we got some new U-bolts because the U-bolts that we had, which are over here, are just too short. So you can already see that it was only grabbing so much right there. Now we got some really long ones. They're pretty much the length of this box. We'll show you them later. So after we install them, we'll have to end up cutting them. And then this is the hardware for the shock. So we're gonna just clean this up. We're gonna clean all this stuff up. Just gonna use some degreaser and get it all cleaned up. So since we're lifting up the rear, something we're gonna wanna do is, luckily there's only one brake line in the rear that controls the whole thing. So we're gonna extend this brake line. We can pick this up from aircraft carrier supply store thing. Same place where we got all the fittings for our front locker on the Tacoma. But I had a leftover brake line and I think it's gonna fit perfectly. So there it is. Now luckily, I mean, not luckily, but that's not gonna sit in there correctly, but your man's has freaking extended brake lines. I'm pretty happy about that. Oh, it's off. Take off this center bolt. Ooh, that thing is stuck on there. That's a rusty boy. That looks like it's a snapped leaf spring. Wait a minute. Dude, I have a snapped leaf spring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I snapped the leaf spring. Yeah. No wonder this thing rides like shit. I stripped it. I already started cutting off the bolt over there. The grinder got a little hot, so I'm gonna let it have a break for a second, and I'm gonna get started on these bushings right here. So first I'm gonna get started with this shackle right here. We're gonna unbolt the shackle so the leaf spring's free, and then replace the 4 bushings that are inside there. A little bit of WD-40. Come on, come on. Oh, the shackle just comes off. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, now it makes sense. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh boy, I don't even want to look at these. Oh yeah, look at that. So here's the 4 bushings from our leaf spring set, and then let me show you 4 of the new ones. That is the same size hole. Good. So we got 4 of these. Bam, son. So definitely worth replacing. So I'm gonna go get some anti-seize. Here's my crushed bottle of anti-seize. I'm gonna clean up the leaf spring a little bit, and then we'll get those installed. We're gonna clean out the inside of these leaf springs as best as we can. So a wire brush, just clean them out. Okay. Got some anti-seize, and anti-seize the world. Got the insides of those. We're gonna do the bushings themselves. You gotta do the inside of the bushing and the outside. We're gonna grab our shackle and we're gonna grease that up too. And the hope is that these will all slide together just fine. It's entirely possible that we're gonna have some trouble because it looked like a pretty tight fit, but when you lubricate everything, obviously that helps. And just tap those into place. I f***ed up. God damn it. So what I'm working on right now is getting these tightened up the correct way so that we can start prying on those front bushings, because those front bushings don't want to really move because everything else is really moving with it. So I'm gonna just adjust the axle as I need to and start tightening down those U-bolts. I gave in. I ended up getting a ball joint press. This is how we're gonna get that taken care of. There. Wow. In addition to this metal sleeve, the rubber itself, there's also this outer metal sleeve that's gonna have to come out. That one's gonna be, if you guys thought first part was hard, this is like Final Boss edition right here. All right, it's starting to get dark. I'm still working on this sleeve and I could not get this thing off. It's a pain in the ass, bigger project than I anticipated, but you know, that's how we do it. So now, as you see, I put the bolt back on. I'm gonna bolt up the rest of the suspension, put the tires on, and move this sucker right back where she belongs. And we'll continue working on it either tomorrow or throughout the week next week. I mean, we got some things done today, but this piece right here, that's gonna take some time, especially since we have to do the other side. So we'll go from there. Stay tuned. I'm now working on it after work because I want to get this thing done as quick as possible. She already sat for a year, so I don't want her sitting any longer. All right, that's good right there. Current progress. This thing's a bitch. But we're gonna take care of it. We're getting closer. It's taking time, but we'll get there. Never you mind. Never you mind. This metal sleeve is finally fucking coming out. I'm gonna give it 3 ungas. Let's see if it'll come out in 3 ungas. 1, 2, last unga. Yeah! Woo! We're gonna install our bushings, these poly bitches, right there. Make sure you anti-seize everything. Ah, oh, dude, it goes in like nothing. Same thing. You're gonna anti-seize the inside and the outside of the metal sleeve. Okay, that one's in. 1 unga, 2 ungas. There it is. There we go. Where's our bolt? Where's our bolt? How many ungas? No ungas. Never mind. All right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you take 2 days to replace 1 bushing. Very good. Continuing progress on winchers. Now, where we last left off, we were working on rear brakes, the leaf spring bushings, as well as the rear shocks. Since then, leaf spring bushings are all good except for one, but I put it back together. I'm gonna run it like that until I have the time to actually tear it apart and do it the right way, because you guys saw how hard it was to take off that front leaf spring bushing. I just want to get it, I want to get it done the correct way. So I don't want to sit there and beat on it for 12 hours. That was annoying. But rear brakes are actually done. I forgot if we actually recorded that with Flacco, but we ended up finishing up rear brakes. And then the shocks, I'm still waiting on the bushings for the shock. So that's something that I got to wait on. And then we also have a rear locker to put in. So that's what I'm going to be working on today. I got to tear out the other differential. Now this is a differential from a 4Runner, and that right there is a Spartan locker. So we're gonna get the Spartan locker thrown in. I'm gonna go to the same place that I went for the Tacoma. So today I have to tear out the third member on the rear axle on winchers, and then that's all I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna drop off this axles, or drop off the third members to get redone, and then probably tomorrow we'll reinstall those. But I'm gonna get started with jacking up the truck, putting the axle on jack stands, and then we're gonna tear out the third member. Start off with taking off the fill. Now, the reason you take off the fill is if you can't fill, then you shouldn't drain. This has come off before, so I don't think it'll be too bad. See? Okay. Oh. It's chunking. I think there's water in my diff. And there's also some significant slime and grindage, which I didn't really break in these gears correctly, so that's fine. Next, I'm going to be taking off the 4 14s on each side so that I can pull the axles out, so that when we're ready, we can actually pull the diff off. And then we also have to pull the drive shaft off, which is a bunch of 14s as well. So 4 bolts for this is already taken off, but it's still kind of on there because friction and everything else like that. Drive shafts never come off that easily unless you have an LS motor, then they come off no problem. Probably not the best way to take off a drive shaft, but let's see if it works. That's not how you want to do stuff, but it's been done. See? I just broke the seal. Okay. Fuck you. There it is. Ugh.
Tomorrow for sure.
And we are back. Next day, here is our locker. So we have our Spartan locker installed with our 488 gears on the third member. Shout out to Flatline Customs. Mike over there knocked it out. He told me it was going to take 2 days. Only took him 1 day. Big shout out to that guy. Definitely check him out if you guys are looking to get some work done. Does a really good job with gears, and he's pretty quick about it too, and a fair price. So all those things. Who's making noise over there? Somebody's making noise. Okay, we're going to get started first with getting this differential cleaned up. There is an old gasket on there, so I'm going to peel off as much of that as I can, and then we're going to just start fresh. Look at that's all old freaking metal shavings and everything else in there. You don't want that shit in your axle, so I'm going to clean that out. Got it all cleaned up, even cleaned up the threads quite a bit. I mean, it's not perfect, but you know what? It's not too bad. Got a brand new thing of RTV.
We're going to in and out. Want anything?
Yes.
What would you like?
In and out. See, I will tell you right now. Whew. No, I'm good. Just give me a double, fries and a drink.
You want a shake or do you want a drink?
I guess I'll take a shake.
You want a vanilla shake?
Chocolate.
Chocolate shake?
Continuing on. So it's been some time, but I mean, you can see now our gasket is pretty much dried up. I tightened it all around. Went in a circle, did everything. Well, I did cross and everything like you're supposed to, and then I reconnected the axles right here, and now I'm doing the drive shaft, and then pretty much we're done. I already tried the locker out when this was off, and it locks. It's fine, so no worries there. We're gonna get started with filling this up with some axle shits. Continuing the fun with winchers. Now, up next, we actually put on some new bump stops. These are Tacoma bump stops. Much like a lot of this build, you're going to realize when you have truck parts from a Tacoma or something like that, they'll actually fit on your older Toyota. So, and then I'll be putting on this 1.5 inch spacer, all 4 corners, and that's so we can clear the Tacoma's old 35 since it's on 37s now. So upgrades all around. What could go wrong? First test fit, 35s. I mean, sure. Very good. So at this point, I'm just going to go for a test drive. Make sure it doesn't rub too much. It might rub. We'll see. All right. Test drive went well. No rubbing with the 35s. A little bit in reverse. Maybe if it flexes. Either way, it's very, very trimmable. Not a big deal. So 35s clear pretty comfortably. I'm very happy with that. Motor, I got to figure out something. There's a water leak underneath the intake, so I'm gonna have to tear that apart. Okay, back with winchers, and I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is we are still working on it. The bad news is we are also still working on it. No, realistically, the shocks are just continuing to be a problem. The Fabtecs are just not gonna fit, so I'm gonna end up using the old shocks, which, I mean, I'm not too happy about, but it'll keep the truck on the trail. And we can continue to go wheel and have some fun. We'll figure out the shock situation later. We'll get some longer ones. But we're gonna put on some shocks today, and we're gonna work on a couple other things and get it one step closer to being back on the trail with a little bit of upgrades. Our shock. At this point, I'm gonna look to either, you know, when we sass the truck, we'll probably use those Fabtecs. We'll lift it a little bit higher. So at that point, I'm either gonna go, you know, Chevy 63-inch leaf springs, or get some kind of add leaf or something to lift it a little higher, so that we can have a 3-inch lift, because the SAS kit will have a 3-inch lift for the front. So we'll have to match the rear by lifting it higher as well. And at that point, then we can clear 37s, but we might stay on 35s for now until we get more comfortable with the build. All right, welcome to the mess. So I've been looking up a bunch of tutorials on how to wire up an OBD2. The one that I found that was the most consistent with what I have, I'll link him down below if it works. If it doesn't work, then we're not linking anybody. and I'll have to figure it out. But I have power hooked up. I just have a wire straight to the battery right now, and then 2 grounds, which are grounded to the body right there. And then this one is your signal connection, which goes to, this is the only one that I have to make sure I got correct. So I don't know if I got 100% correct, but the good news is the OBD2 is on, the scanner's on. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the truck, and we're gonna see if we can pull some codes for this motor. No fucking way. I mean, it's still loading, so that's good. Okay. Linking error, please try again. Part 2. I ended up swapping. Looks like the signal didn't come through correctly, so I'm either hooked up to the wrong one on the ECU or I pinned it wrong. So I went back to the original pin location because I originally switched it over by one because that's what it said to do in the diagram. But I pulled this from the original motor, so maybe, just maybe, it was supposed to be like that. So I'm gonna plug it back in. That's back on. Let's turn the truck on. Fuck. All right, back to the drawing board. I just gotta figure out that fucking wire, which one it is. Let's get it. All right, continuing the chaos. Made a battery tray. This is a lot better. Obviously, we don't have the bungee cord sticking on the outside of the vehicle. Now, moving on to the inside, still kind of a mess, but a couple new updates. OBD2 port, it's wired up, but I still got to figure out, because I'm using a T100 ECU, there's something different right there to where it's not communicating, but I mean, it is wired up. We did makeshift fix the door, and then hopefully a very important part, you see up there, that is a O2 sensor. So we had this O2 sensor installed when we did the muffler. The guy at the exhaust shop thought that this was different wiring, so you see I have them connected here. Turns out the one that I stole off of there just still had the connection on the front with no wires. So I thought I had to rewire it. So all this time I could have had my O2 sensor hooked up. Anyways, O2 sensor is super important for this motor. There's 2 of them. There's one before the cat and one after the cat. Now the one before the cat is gonna really relay it on it a lot of information back to ECU so that the engine runs properly. And that's the one that we got hooked up. The second one is after the cat. This vehicle doesn't have cats, so it doesn't really matter. It's gonna throw a code, but I mean, we're past that point. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the vehicle, and let's see if it runs a little bit better than normal. You know, it's not as shaky as it was before. Let's go for a test drive real quick. Not gonna lie, truck's running very, very good right now. That O2 sensor seemed to, it used to have like the slightest tiny little hiccup. We went over to Vic's house, we changed the spark plug wiring, and then I've been just kind of looking at other stuff. In my mind, it actually runs better now with that O2 sensor finally hooked up. All right, burnout test just to see if I still got it. Yeah, I still got it. All right, so next I guess you'll see us starting to tear apart the motor a little bit, figuring out this water leak. Like I said, we've tested the head gasket. It's not the head gasket, it's just something's leaking water inside the valley in between the 2 heads, and that's kind of what that is. So I'll have to tear it apart and go from there. So we have until drizzling you're hearing is me check out how to drain the coolant, because coolant runs through the head. Or sorry, runs through this manifold. Oh. Okay, here we go. We're getting somewhere. I'm fairly stumped. At this point, I'm just replacing stuff and hoping for the best. This is the little steel pipe that's running through the center of that valley down there. And you can kind of see down there, there's a ton of water and everything, so this might be the culprit. I don't know. I'm going to replace this, and then I'm going to replace the hoses that connect to it. I'm pretty sure at this point that it's going to be this pipe that's leaking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean both sides. I'm going to wire brush the crap out of it and then just use some RTV, put it back together. Right there on the bottom, this piece right here, that's pretty rough. I have a strong feeling that water is getting through right there. Other than that, I don't know what else I could really do. But we'll go ahead and do that, and then, you know, these should be fine, but I'm going to clean these up again. Just give them a quick little sand off. And then we're gonna bolt this intake and the whole motor back together and hope for the best. I think we're in money. Just gonna give these a decent tight, nothing crazy. Finally wrapped up. Taking a test drive, gonna go pick up my son, so we're gonna just do a test run, make sure it doesn't leak any coolant, make sure it doesn't overheat. As of right now, everything's going just fine, but we're gonna go pick up the boy, and then from there, I mean, if the truck survives a trip to the baby mama's house, it's gonna survive anything at this point. So we're gonna continue on, and then once we get wrapped up there, we'll come back and then we'll wrap up the video. Well, there it is. All done with our test drive, and everything has gone pretty well. I mean, we drove about, I want to say about 60 or 70 miles round trip, and you know, radiator, everything's up to temp. Didn't overheat, didn't have any problems like that, no power loss. Actually, you know, came back pretty good. Now, like a lot of projects that you guys have yourselves at home, this one is never ending. There's still quite a few things to work out with this truck. Still got to wire up the OBD2. I still got to figure out the rear shocks, because I have the rear shocks. I just got to get the bushings and then figure out how to lift it just a tad bit higher so I can fit those shocks underneath there. It is currently leaking a tad bit of oil. You guys can see down there. Put cardboard in the way to catch it, but we did quite a few things in this video. We addressed a lot of the problems that we found when we first swapped the engine, and then we went and took it to Cleghorn. You know, we addressed flex a little bit. I mean, I took off the sway bar, and we did put another, you know, we fixed the leaf springs, and we put some leaf spring bushings in there and fixed those. So it should help with flex a little bit, but more to come on the flex. That'll get a lot better. We addressed some coolant leaks, as well as any kind of overheating issues that we had. We wired up, you know, our cluster, you know, did some of the dash work. We did rear brakes. We put in a rear locker. I forgot what else because it's been some time. Something that I definitely want to ask you guys when it comes to Winchers content, or even like when George is working on the XJ, would you guys want to see videos like these where it's maybe a couple weeks, a month worth of content, and we'll throw it together, maybe like a 20-30 minute episode? Or would you rather see smaller clips of like, hey, you know, I'm taking care of this water leak today, break down the motor, take care of the water leak, that's it for the video? Or do you not care about the little things? You'd rather just stick to the big projects? Like, you know, for example, the SAS, we're gonna definitely have a video for the SAS, but you know, we're gonna fix other things along the way. Do you guys want to see those things even if we don't record them in their entirety? It's definitely something I want to hear from you guys. Comment below, give me your thoughts. But we're all done for the video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe channels, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon. You can also hit us up for shirts, hats, hoodies, and all those other goodies at dirtnationnoffroad@gmail.com. But we're all done here. We're on to TDS. Hopefully nothing goes wrong in that time. We'll be hitting some stuff with Winchers and then going from there. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time. Now, before we wrap up the video, I just wanted to give one last check-in because we've had a couple updates. Now, I kind of jinxed myself at the end of the video here because I was talking about TDS and hopefully nothing goes wrong. Well, guess what? Something went wrong. That oil leak that I was talking about towards the end there, it actually gotten really, really bad. And I was able to discover the oil leak after TDS, but the truck didn't make it there. So the oil leak actually turned out to be when we relocated the dipstick, there was a hole left inside the side of the engine block, and oil was coming out of there when you rev the engine. So I was able to get that plugged using some epoxy that's meant for steel. So I got that plugged up. There's now no oil leaks, there's no fuel leaks, and there are no water leaks. So we are good to go with this truck. And to be honest, we've actually taken it out a couple times. Can't wait for you guys to see Winters out on the trail. Till next time.